somehow Edge of Eternities is almost already upon us. So we're going to go through and talk about the mechanics from the set and sort of our opinions on them.
1 second.
You're right.
1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Distraction makers.
First mechanic on the list, we have Spacecraft and Station. Spacecraft being a new creature type, and Station being the mechanic that says, tap another creature you control, put charge counters equal to its power on the spacecraft, Station only as a sorcery.
This comes alongside the a new commander rules change. You can now play vehicles and spacecraft. You can play vehicles and spacecrafts as your commander.
If they're legendary.
Right. Still has to be legendary.
There's like 7 vehicles that are legendary, and
and one of them the best one can already be your commander. It says on the...
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting to see them kind of open up the design space for what can be used as your commander. I think at a certain point, maybe they'll open up to Planeswalkers too, even though Planeswalkers are not great in Commander because of the 4-player dynamics, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think this was an easy win for Wizards, basically. Being able to look at the card list and go, would this completely break the game? Probably not.
Probably not.
Also, Commander's broken anyways. Ooh, slam dunk and just,
But that's how they like it.
That's probably how they like it. What's cool about this Station mechanic is that they have used it, or you're able to use it in multiple instances. So it's not just on spacecrafts. They also have new lands that have the Station mechanic on them.
Oh, interesting.
So this card that they give it as an example, Uthros Titanic God Core. Land enters tapped. You could tap to add a blue. It has Station. And its Station, if you have 12 plus charge counters on it, it basically is Tolarian Academy. You pay a blue, tap it, and add 1 blue for each artifact you control.
Yeah, you brought this up to me, and my initial response was, they just did Suspend again, which is interesting because Ancestral Visions is a sort of remake of Ancestral Recall, but with Suspend. So they sort of like, you have to wait 4 turns, theoretically, for it to cast.
Theoretically.
Right, but Cascade interacts with it in a particularly poor way. So it'll be interesting to see what interacts with this in a particularly poor way.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I think the idea of you tap another creature that you control to put charge counters equal to its power on this planet as a sorcery, like they're very much trying to make sure
that
like it has to be creatures you control, you have to tap them, you put charge counters, no other type of counters.
Right. I mean, Proliferate will still work with this.
Will still work.
There's
definitely counter manipulation on stuff.
Yeah, what's that one called, the Ozolith or something?
Yeah, Ozolith
carries counters with it. That's going to go up in value probably.
I
assume that can like transfer counters, right?
It's when something has counters and then I think is removed from the battlefield. I don't think it dies.
Goes to Ozolith.
It goes to Ozolith, and then I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think you can move it off from Ozolith. Maybe we should look up what Ozolith does.
Let's see. Whenever a creature you control, Ozolith says, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has counters on it, you may move all counters from the Ozolith onto target creature.
Oh, doesn't work.
No, because then you move it onto the target creature, and then you tap the target creature.
You can, well, it's a little roundabout.
Yeah. It still probably would work out. But either way, like generally, counters aren't often a problem.
Sure.
They are in certain formats, like it might be a problem potentially in Standard, maybe. I don't know. It's a lot of counters to bring over onto something for Standard. But casual Commander people will love this.
I think this mechanic in particular is very Commander focused.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about how sort of the economy side of the strategy circle is where Commander lives. We also refer to this as making butter, so drawing cards, getting extra lands. This gives you another resource to sort of invest in, right? To sort of build up to these battle cruisers, right? They're literally battle cruisers.
Yeah.
To have some kind of big bombastic finish at the end of the game. So
I think it'll be interesting to see.
I think it's cool. I think this is a really good, not broken at all way to do these things.
I think when I saw this specific mechanic initially. It's technically not a new card type. It's attached to new card types, but the idea of something having a station mechanic just means that it has the station mechanic and then also has some sort of a secondary unlock. Right. So this is, in a way,
you can kind of use it on anything.
You can use it on anything. Yeah. It's kind of like a new way of doing something like level up. But so it'll be interesting. They might end up doing this with other things. I could potentially see like different locations being something that you invest in.
I kind of wish they would have named it something a little less specific then. Like station is kind of like
it feels a little spacey
specific, but I mean, it's not the worst, but
hunker down.
Yeah, or like fortify, although they already used that word.
Yeah, they used fortify.
Fortunately.
Civilize. Colonize.
Invest.
Oh, invest. Not colonize. Planet is a new subtype.
Well, there we go.
Don't know what that means.
It's just planets.
But they'll reference it. Yeah. Probably. I mean, I feel like that's anytime.
Can they be your commander?
Probably not.
Oh, okay.
I feel like anytime there's a new subtype like that, I feel like there's some people that kind of like get excited about it. Even like sometimes Wizards is like, and we're introducing a new subtype, and I'm like, all right, but like you're just gonna have cards
like,
that say like, hey, for every planet in play, you gain an extra mana, and it's like, all right, it's just what everything else is.
Is it like planet forest?
Nah, it's land hyphen
planet
hyphen. Yeah, land hyphen planet.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's kind of like snow. No, it's not like snow. That's like a super type.
Yeah. Huh. So I do wonder if you have a forest planet or a island planet? We'll find out. All right.
If this land is a planet, if you control a planet, this land comes in untapped.
Yeah. We're going to see that probably. Next, we have the mechanic Warp.
Oh.
Warp says you pay some sort of a cost to it, and then you may cast this card from your hand for its Warp cost. Exile this creature at the beginning of the next end step. Then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. So it's sort of a rework of this adventure mechanic that they've been exploring lately. Difference is that it's, I think it can only be attached to creatures, really, or permanents.
So I got this wrong when we were talking about this earlier.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, oh, you can like play it as instant. It says cast. So you still have to cast it at the speed you cast the spell at. So it doesn't make it
really?
It doesn't make it instant speed, yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not an ability. It's a alternate casting.
Oh, okay.
So you still have to cast it at the speed of the spell.
Oh, okay, I see.
So that's a little less broken than I thought.
I do wonder if there's going to be non-creatures or non-permanents.
I don't know. I don't think so. It wouldn't work.
It would essentially be like a double cast that you get, but I feel like on permanents, that really is the only way that this is any sort of a drawback.
Yeah, right.
Unless there's like a built-in drawback that's like, oh, when this is warped. I'll just read this card so people can get a sense of what warp is. This is Starfield Shepherd, 3 and 2 white, creature angel, 3/2, flying. When this creature enters, search your library for a basic plains card or a creature card with mana value 1 or less. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So with its warp cost being 1 and a white, you essentially can pay 1 and a white, drop it in. It'll come in at the, you'll get your tutor effect or whatever. At your end step, it will bounce to exile, and then later from exile, you can cast it for its full mana cost.
This is pretty cool. Yeah. I think this is an interesting mechanic. I like that you get to choose. Like you play the spell into play, and you have a minute to consider. Like, okay, well, if I wanted to sacrifice this for something, or in some cases they have haste, so you can attack with them before they're put into exile. If you sacrificed it, obviously it doesn't go to exile. But then you're sort of choosing like, well, do I want the opportunity to play this again later, or do I want it for the benefit that I could get now from sacrificing it?
Most creatures, like unless you have other cards that will interact with them once they come into play, it's essentially just paying for whatever its ETB is, which is neat. I think that's fun design space, and there's ways you can work around it. We were talking earlier how like, well, you could just technically flicker them, right? Like you warp them, flicker them, and then you get them for their warp costs. I think that's kind of fun.
I think we're going to see a lot of that. That's pretty good. And all of these are going to have some kind of ETB, right? That's going to be good. So,
yeah. I mean, I think some might just end up being haste creatures.
Oh, sure.
Right. So you come in, haste, swing with it, and then they bounce back. But yeah, I think that there's some interesting design space. It feels a little bit different.
Hey, Gavin from the editing room here. Just realized that we forgot to mention an interaction between warp and station. So you can warp in a creature and then use it to station your spacecraft or whatever station's on before it is exiled, even if it has summoning sickness. So there's some warp creatures that have particularly high power and toughness and a fairly low warp cost, but no real effect besides that. That seems to be their intended use. Okay, back to the video.
Next, we have Void. Void abilities improve what cards do if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or if a spell was warped this turn. So if you just warped something in, and then you cast your spell, you'll get a bonus, like a little kicker effect, or it can be after something has left the battlefield. So it could potentially be, I guess, if it's an instant, could be on end step. Once a warp thing gets sent to exile, you could cast an instant and maybe get its extra kicker effect or something like that. So here we have Tragic Trajectory. It's sorcery, 1 black. It says target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, but it also has Void, which says that creature gets -10/-10 until end of turn instead.
Jeez.
If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, or a spell was warped this turn.
I don't know how I feel about this one, actually. It feels a little tacked on, I guess, to warp in a way. Like, clearly it's meant to interact with it, but like it has these other use cases where it's just if something left the battlefield.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like Morbid, I guess, right? Because but Morbid's like if something went to the graveyard, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit more versatile. They probably were playing limited, and they were like, "Oh, I really want to get this effect from this, but this is like a sorcery. This needs to be a sorcery, but I warped in a card. I want to get the benefit." So that's why they had to specify that a card could be warped as well. And so that's the part to me that feels a little tacked on.
Sure.
It's the thing that gives it this unique flavorful aspect to the set itself, but it does there's something I feel weird when I see like it feels
Very
a little very specific.
Yeah,
because like it's not a parasitic ability. This is definitely going to be some sort of a mechanic that could see all sorts of different play, but when you mention that it's warped, it like then solidifies it as, oh well, that's very much an Edge of Eternity card. So
it reduces the feeling of longevity, even though it actually doesn't.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's a weird flavor thing. But at the same time, if it were just if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, you get this thing, then I'd be like, all right, then that just kind of feels like a gimme almost, which it is. It's still that, but it's also warped. I don't know.
It's interesting. I think it will be powerful
for
but
sure.
It does feel a little clunky, I guess.
Yeah, I think it feels, I think we talked about it maybe when we were talking about the Final Fantasy set, but it feels like a workhorse mechanic. Essentially, it's a mechanic that like is necessary for the set to function.
Right.
So,
yeah,
you know, they can't always be winners across the board.
I mean, I think it's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
It just feels a little...
Yeah. You see it and you
Shoehorn.
go, oh, okay, that's
there
that.
it is.
Yeah. Final one we have here is Lander tokens. Have you seen these yet?
I have not seen this at all.
All right. I want to hear your best guess on what you think a Lander token does.
A Lander token?
Lander.
It feels like it's kind of a food treasure thing, maybe. So tap it to search your library for a land and put it in your hand.
You were almost right.
Damn it! What did I miss?
So it's 2 and tap. I didn't expect you to get the mana cost right.
Jeez.
You do sacrifice this token.
Yeah.
Search your library for a basic land card, but you put it onto the battlefield tapped.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, I was right there. Come on.
You said hand.
I was like, hands, they're not going to let you put this into... This isn't going to ramp anybody, right? You got to put it in your hand.
It does. Nope. You tap 2 and...
You know...
Yep.
I should have realized that this set was all about making butter and that it would put it in play.
Yeah.
So...
I feel like this is very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean... Yeah. I think treasures are probably still better. But
probably, yeah.
This is like behind treasures.
Yeah.
Because this gets a land out of your deck. It's only basic land, though.
Yes, it is only basic land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not nearly as good as treasures, then.
Right. So still not as good as treasures.
Still good.
But I still think it's good. The fact that it is essentially something that can get you a land, but because it's an artifact token, can also be versatile. So it means that you could use it for other sort of sacrifice effects. You get the benefits of artifacts, which they seem to be leaning into a lot with this set. Yeah. We started to see affinity for artifacts make a comeback, so these would count towards that. Right. It'll be really interesting to see, I think, how these work with all the latest mechanics. So, I don't know. overall impressions.
Yeah, like I said, this set feels like the butteriest set that we've had maybe ever. Very focused on battle cruiser style play. There's literally battle cruisers in the set that can now be your commander. So I think almost in a meme way, they've embraced the battle cruiser to the utmost in this set. So I think it'll probably be a pretty big hit with commander audiences, casual commander audiences. This type of gameplay tends to be what's preferred. So I think there's a lot of build up. I think that's on theme, right? We think about like the Death Star or something. It takes a long time to power it up before it can shoot its big planet-destroying ray. Makes a lot of sense thematically. I think that with this being the sort of last Universes Within set of the year, it seems pretty good. I think that mechanically, they did a good job.
I didn't even think about the fact that this is the last in-universe set for the year.
Yeah, it's the last Universes Within set.
Oh, God.
For the year.
Oh, jeez. After Final Fantasy kind of being meh, we're not big Final Fantasy fans, so it's not really a set for us.
Right, but the set was massively successful. Like,
obviously, yeah. So it's more of a personal preference, but also like mechanically, we did a review on it and stuff, and like mechanically, we were just kind of like, that's fine. Even Tarkir Dragonstorm was kind of fine, but yeah, I think the stations in this, it's cool. It's really neat. Without it being, I think, breaking or going too far away into the abstract of what Magic already does. I think the lander tokens are a neat addition. I think Warp is really cool. It's a really versatile mechanic. I would not be surprised if we see it in other sets in the future. So all in all, yeah, I'm actually like pleasantly surprised at how it seems clean. These are not overly complex mechanics. They do seem flavorful for the set, but they don't seem like they deviate that far from what Magic already does, that it really feels like a pretty good sweet spot for a lot of these mechanics.
It's actually some of the most sort of integrated design has felt in quite a long time too. I think it just sort of lines up. It does what Battlecruiser wants to do. Makes a lot of sense. So I think overall, good job.
Yeah. Thumbs up. Distraction Makers, thumbs up.
We haven't played the set yet, but the mechanics, they look pretty good.
Yeah, the set could fucking blow. If you enjoyed listening to us talk about the Edge of Eternities mechanics, please feel free to give us a little like and a subscribe, maybe a comment down below.
Also, if you want to continue the conversation, you can join our Discord. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.